So, hi everybody and welcome back to the C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 90 and in this video we continue with our solution for our game exercise. I hope you did a very good game and you trained all the words, keywords, functions, structures and all together, because that's the reason why we make exercises, and that will develop your knowledge, understanding of programming, right? Because just learning and understanding keywords is not enough, will not bring you to the level where you are able to program. But training is the way to go, and exercises are there for. And let's continue where I stopped. I stopped here with this line of code, which was a result of the game, and I said there a problem. And yes, there were one big problem actually, and the problem was not this line of code. The problem was actually this std in. And the reason why this is a problem is this in takes only an input without white spaces in. What I mean with that is, let me show you this one again. So when we have this one here, and you write, for example, like I all time did, coder, and enter, there is no problem. This was one word without white spaces. But if I write now Superman, super duper, and you see I got many problems, because this say in takes all time one word, and then the next word is then anyhow included right after. But this one you have to read later a little bit more in theory. Right now I show you the easy solution, and actually this is the right way to do it. And here, but I will not just use it because we will talk about this one in another video one more time. And the solution is just use a function, and let's replace this one at least with this one here, so I can show you the right thing. So instead of using this std you use here std, and this one is a function getLine, and then in this function you have two arguments. The first argument which you are writing in is, here you see a function call again, std in, and then comma separated. Here we have just our variable where we want save it. So this we have not discussed this because we just learned functions, and yes, that's not too difficult, right? So this one is just a call in a function in this round brackets, right? This is a little bit new, but this is actually the solution. And when we start this one here, you can see now I can, for this first name at least, I can write here coder, the best programmer or whatever. And then I can write here Superman, and this one works, right? And the problem is for the other inputs probably as well. So for this one, when I make here space and 9 and space and 9, this one will cause problems as well. So for the inputs, and yeah, I hope but in general it's not now a big deal, because as long as you press enter after the input, it's right. And if you use now this line of code, which is a function call, it will work too. So we solved this, and we will talk about this line of code probably in one video again, because there are much more to talk about this thing here. And let's continue. And you can see this getLine is, again, when you use functions from C++, they write all function names little. I don't do this, just I remember. And you can see why I don't like it, because this function is still little, but here, where is the word which separates them, right? Get line. Okay, this here makes sense, but later if you have like my function names here, a list which is almost very long, or this kind of long function names, and if they are not start with capital letters, it's hard. Of course, I recommend you that you use the C++ style, but I will use the my style because I like it makes it easier for me, right? And that is all time the goal with this names. When it makes easier, use that what it's easy for you. For me, this one is easier than writing all in little capital, yeah, in little letters here at the start point. It's too, yeah, it's not very visible later. So let's continue. That's that. Now I added here one more function already. So we stopped here with this line, and then I defined what I want to do next. And here I wrote a comment, and you see I added here a little bit more comments here, by the way. But important about these comments is they should only help the programmer, and should not describe the code. They should describe your task, your functionality, or what you are trying to achieve. So what I mean with this is, so don't comment like this is a function with two parameters. Yes, we can see that, but what is the function doing? That you should describe. And you can see here I tried result will print out message depends on the reach point. So it should give a hint, so that when the programmer or yourself read this again, that when you open this one, okay, now I get it. Yes, here are your switch statements, two switch statements, and depends on the points which are this condition here, it will print out here's something. All right, so this comment should all time give a hint and get a fast access of this functions, right? And let's see if this one does it in the next one. So the next one I wrote here, I want compare the player's point, okay, the player's point we have on top, with a list which got top 10 entries. So a list, we have only learned so far a list with arrays, but we also learned that we can make a list with an enumeration. The problem with enumeration is we can't access them like arrays, so we have to convert enumerations to an array and then get access. That's why I will probably use arrays, and later in the future we will learn even better lists than arrays. So, but the arrays are all time the basics and something like that. All right, let's continue. And then I wrote here, and if they are in the top 10, so with which means if one of this player reaches the top 10, then I want print out that they are in top 10. Okay, that's not a big thing. And let's see if this comment makes now sense when we open this up, so that we have not read it 2 times. Let's get started. Okay, here I have a local array, which is my list. And then this here makes no sense at this point, because I have here slot found in comparison player 1. So I do with these 2 variables anything. We don't know right now, but it gives a hint again. Slot, so found in comparison player 2. So I compare, and then I found a slot, anything like that anywhere. And then here found slot in top 10 list array. So the problem with this one, let's close this one here. So not that we watch what they are doing. The problem with these variables are sometimes they should be descriptive as far as they can go. And you see I wrote here a very long name, but still it can still cause problems. So it gives misunderstandings. And that means we need also a fast access to these variables, right? The problem is here, where is this variables? Okay, how I can find this variable so I can see where they are used. And there is something what you can do for that. For example, you hover or your mouse over this variable name, right click. These two things you already know probably, and or even this three on top: peak definition, go to declaration. But now the number 4 comes here, and this number 4 is very powerful. Find all references, and this one works not only with variables, this one works also with functions. And what does this find all reference means is all code with which is associated with this variable name, for example, are shown here below, and if you click on them, it is jumping to these places, so where they are used. For example, here I click here and it is used here, and then I can read this one fast and see how they are used, where they are used, and why they are used. And this one is very important because, like I said, sometimes variables are not on top, not so, what I mean with that is sometimes they are not so close like here. Here in this case, they are local variables. Local means they are close to the place where they are probably used. That's why you make normally variables local, so they are close, they are capsuled, and there is no name conflicts and so on. But sometimes we have also here this global variables, and now let's compare this one, because the globals were, oops, this one not. The global variables, for example, here on top, let's put them down a little bit. It's a little bit harder to find in the code. For example, here, this one here, where is points for player number 1 used? Now, normally to find this one, you have now to go to whole code here, which can take too much time and waste much time. Instead, just right click, find all references, and then you have here a bunch of information where all this name, for example, is used. And then you can click on it, it jumps to these places, and you get fairly fast in understanding what this variable is doing or not. So let's continue. This one is not only possible with variables, also with functions, and that's also very powerful. Why is this important for functions as well? Let's open our int main, and you see we have here just function calls, right? All right, we have here function calls. And one bad thing here, no appropriate comments here. That's very bad, because you should normally write this comments, which I have here on the other places, here at the call places, because later they read, normally you read here the code and then you try to understand what the code is doing. So that's very bad to write comments here. And let's continue first with the search here. So of course you hover over a function, right click it, and then find all references, and now you can see where the function is and where they are used and so on. So very powerful, and let's continue. The next thing is, oh, now I have to scroll down. Here I stopped at this point. We talked about this top 10 list comparison. And yeah, I created here this variables, this array, and here one bool variable, just that it signals I found it or not. And then all time when you hear an array, this one is an array, an int array, then think about loops, because most time you want loop through an array and then try to get the values or anything. In my case, I used here a for loop. Of course, you can use also a while loop. And yeah, with that said, let's see what I did here. I write the for loop here. I write here an if statement. If statements are most time useful for comparison. And in my case, I compared here the input, the points for player number 1. And this one is again one of these examples where I said this right click and find all reference can be very useful, because let's say you are here in this function, but this variable name here, points for player number 1, is not on top, because this one is perhaps global, perhaps not. We are not sure. Then you can find again this one, go to this one, and you see it's on top. It's there used, and check out what this variable is doing. So let's continue with that. So here it is just a comparison. It checks if our value which we have is in our top 10 list array, which is this one here. If it's here in it, then these two variables here will be set, and then after this for loop is finished, it goes to the next if statement, and it prints just out that we are in top 10. So that was really it for this one. So that was a little ad, and you can see that was not too difficult. And I think we solved here some more, but I think I continue a little bit more with this here, because this game is actually not really good. What I mean with that is we can add here definitely more things, like we can add what I'm doing here. We can add here more functions, and definitely I want to add in the next video a function with a return type, and also I want to add more comparisons, logical comparisons, and perhaps using enumerations and making more lists and so on. With that said, if you have any complaints, questions, ask in the comment, and if not, I hope you made it better than me, because it's all about training. And if you made more errors than me, no problem, because I made many too. The important thing is just solve it, like I did with this strange name here. And wish you good luck. Bye, and see you in the next.